Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. So now I am 1 month on testosterone, or basically 4 weeks. I started 4 weeks ago as of today, and today I got my third injection. So this is my next update video. As you can tell, face hasn't really changed much other than I do have a little bit more acne. I've been fighting it pretty stringently, so it's probably not as bad as it could be. I've been doing a lot of washing my face and using Strident pads and making sure I moisturize so I'm not too, my skin isn't too dry, and so I've just been doing a lot of things to try and mitigate that. I was expecting the acne to happen, and yeah, sure enough it is, so I'm sure you can see some of it, but it's not anywhere near as bad as I was fearing it might get, and it might still get worse. I don't know yet. It's only been a month. I know my voice doesn't sound any different, but I think it's going to start changing, just because one of the symptoms that other transgender men that I've watched on YouTube have talked about, as you know, different changes that they've noticed, is that their voice, not their voice, but their throat starts feeling kind of scratchy, maybe a little bit of a sore, scratchy throat kind of a thing. And I have definitely been having that for the last week or so. So, and more so than the scratchy throat, I've kind of had this feeling like I need to cough a lot. And I know that the testosterone, what it does is it enlarges the vocal cords. And so I think as my vocal cords are growing, it's just kind of this weird irritating feeling in here, and it just kind of triggers me to cough. There's no reason for me to cough other than that. So I'm not sick, and I take allergy medication all the time, that kind of thing. So I'm thinking, because the cough and the increased kind of scritchiness in my throat kind of started happening right about the same time, so I'm thinking that that's gotta be it. And if you're hearing any jingles in the background, if my music isn't covering it up, it's because my doggies are deciding to wander around right under the camera here, and not sure why they're all of a sudden taking an interest in me sitting here filming, but okay. Anyhow, sorry, they're a distraction sometimes. Anyhow, so yeah, so while the tone of my voice hasn't changed yet, I definitely am feeling something going on with my vocal cords and with my throat in general. So I'm thinking that's gonna start having an effect soon. Obviously my face hasn't changed. I don't have a beard yet. All of that stuff's gonna take weeks and months and years and things. So there's not a ton of changes beyond that. I'm trying to think. You know, it's basically acne and the scratchy throat that's been like the biggest change since last time. So there really hasn't. That's about it in terms of actual, like, what I'm noticing with the testosterone. I did get some blood work back. So long story short, I was supposed to have baseline blood work done. And I may have talked about this last time, I don't remember, but I was supposed to have like baseline blood work done just before starting my first injection. And while I went to get the blood work done, the lab screwed up, and all they did was test my lipids, my cholesterol. That was it. That's the only thing they did. I had a list of like 8 or 9 things that they were supposed to test. They only tested the lipids and sent that in. And my doctor's office called me, and they're like, we're missing all these other tests. I'm like, they were supposed to test them, and I called the lab, and they were like, whoops. And by this time it was after I'd taken my second injection. So I went back and got the blood work done again, but it's not a baseline anymore because I'd already had 2 injections. So there goes that, and they're still missing. Now, I know that they did all of the tests they're supposed to, and they've sent most of the results to my endocrinologist, but there's still 2 tests that they haven't received. And I keep calling the lab, and they're like, oh yeah, we have them, we'll send them. But then the endocrinologist doesn't get them, and it's been back and forth 3 times now, and I don't know what's going on. I'm like, can't you guys talk to each other? Why am I the one having to coordinate all this stuff? Oh, it's been an interesting adventure so far, let me tell you. So, but the interesting thing on that is, so when I had the second blood work taken, it was 4 days after my second injection, and my testosterone levels were already into the normal male range. So the normal male range, and I've seen a number of different ranges out there, but the one that my doctor's office goes by is like 285 to 860 or something, I think was the range. And don't ask me what the increments, it's not milligrams or it's some DG, it's some weird measurement that I'm not familiar with, but that's the number range. It's supposed to be between 285 and 860-ish for a healthy adult male. And for women, it's more like between 8 and 48 was the range that they gave me. And so mine is at 334. So, or no, 332. Yeah. Anyway, but it's over it's over 330, and so I'm definitely in the lower end of the normal male range already. And like I said, I don't have my baseline, so I can't say if my normal testosterone was elevated before I started on it. But I do remember about 15 years ago. This is when I was having a lot of problems on the birth control I was on. My hormones were going all sorts of crazy. My cycles were all sorts of crazy, and I ultimately ended up having to stop all hormonal birth control entirely. Not that I needed it, because I had my tubes tied. I had a tube ligation a long time ago, but I used it mainly to help have more regulated cycles. And and that worked for 10 years, and then all of a sudden my cycles just went completely wonky, crazy, cross-eyed, even with the hormonal birth control. So I was like, okay, let's just stop taking this stuff. But while I was going through and trying to figure out what was going on with the birth control, I did have my hormones tested. They did do a blood workup, and then I also did you use saliva, and you do it for like a 30-day period, I think it was, and there was like different specific days in the cycle and everything, and you had to like fill up these little vials with your saliva, and I think I had to stick a bit in the freezer, and then when I was done with all of them, shipping off to the lab or something. So it was so the doctor could kind of have a view of where my hormones were at different points in a 30-day cycle. And I recall that the biggest thing with that change, with that test, was that my natural testosterone levels were elevated 15 years ago. Now, whether or not that's still true, since I haven't been on hormonal birth control for 15 years now, I don't know if that's still true. I don't have the baseline anymore. But I do remember them saying that my testosterone was definitely above normal for a normal female. So not significantly, not into the male range by any means. It wasn't because if I had natural testosterone up into the male range, I would be a lot more masculinized than I am. I obviously have a very feminine voice, and the way my body is shaped, I was high for a female, but I would have been very low for a male. So I was just, I don't know, I've just been all over the place. But that was one interesting thing, was the fact that after only 2 injections, and about 2.5 weeks of being on testosterone, all of a sudden I'm already into the male range. So I thought that was interesting. Excuse me. See what I mean about the cough? It's like it's just in there. And I would blame allergies, but I don't. If I have allergic reactions at all, it's usually sinus and watery eyes and things. It's not usually a cough. This has been a very recent thing with the throat thing. So, but yeah. So anyway, so that was interesting. Just since the only baseline I have is my cholesterol, since that was the only test that they sent in. It's the only test that they did with the baseline testing. So my cholesterol's down. again, which is good. I may or may not have mentioned that last 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Forgive me, I'm getting old. My brain just doesn't remember these things. But yeah, so my cholesterol keeps going down, and that'll be interesting in September when I go back to see my endocrinologist. I'm sure he's going to order more blood work, and it'll be interesting to see if, with the testosterone, if my cholesterol will continue to go down because it's been going down with the statin supplement I've been taking, or if the testosterone will arrest it and just keep it where it's at now, which is still somewhat high, but it's not a crazy, scary high like it was, because I was at 315 with my cholesterol, then I went down to 264, and I'm now at 236 as of the last test, which again, 236 is still high, but for me that's actually low. I've always been 250 and over every time I've ever gotten tested since my 20s. I've always had high cholesterol. I think it's just a genetic thing. So if the red yeast rice, the statin supplement I take, has been lowering it, which is a good thing, but the testosterone might increase it. So I don't know if they're going to fight each other, or it'll be interesting to see. Now the only other interesting thing that's coming out of all of this. So when I went to see the endocrinologist for the first time, one of the things he did was a gland check. So it's where they kind of feel you up on your throat and feel your glands and things. And he actually felt a swelling on my thyroid, and I was like, huh, because I had a gland check from my GP in March. And he did it in June, so it was like through my throat, and she did not feel anything. So whatever it is, popped up since March. And so he had me go in for an ultrasound of my thyroid to see what's going on, and they found what they're calling a nodule, and it's 1.6 centimeters, I think. It might be millimeters, I forget, but it's small, but it's still in the range where they're like, yep, you gotta do a biopsy. So that's a thing now. So I now have to go in. So today's Tuesday, so Thursday, and 2 days from now, I have to go in and get a biopsy of this nodule in my neck, which I'm not looking forward to. As I've mentioned, I don't do needles very well, and so, I mean, I'm not looking forward to that. I think I'm more stressed out over the test than I am over whatever the results are. I mean, the likelihood of it being malignant is very, very, very small. But obviously they still have to test to make sure, because, you don't normally have nodules on your thyroid, and if you do, better safe than sorry and check them. So, but it would be interesting if it ends up being something and I have to get treated for it, that, like, gee, wouldn't it be interesting that that the fact that I'm transitioning helps me catch a cancer early and saves my life? Wouldn't, I mean, I'm not saying that, that's kind of overly dramatic, because I have no idea if it's bad or not. It might be benign and whatever, but if it's not benign, I don't know, it just would be another check in the pro column for me transitioning. Okay, that's, again, and overblowing everything at this point, but a part of me is like, whenever because I've dealt with this kind of thing before, in my ovaries. I had a growth in one of my ovaries. It's one of the reasons I had one of them had to be removed. Ended up being a dermoid, but I still remember, as this is back 20 some years ago, when doctors actually did the actual ultrasound tests themselves, instead of sending you to a special clinic with special trained technicians. The doctors did it themselves, and I still remember laying there as the doctor was looking at my ovary, because I had pain during intercourse. Basically is how we discovered this thing. Is I had pain during intercourse. I had a nurse tell me, oh, you're just imagining things, but I'll schedule you with the doctor to have the ultrasound. Had the ultrasound, and the first words out of the doctor's mouth when she saw it was, "What the hell is that?" Huh? So we had scheduled surgery 2 months. You know, it took 2 months to be able to get me into the surgery and everything. So I spent 2 months thinking I'm dying of cancer because the doctor had no idea what the hell it was. So that was not fun. And so yeah, my brain goes to worst case scenario even when it shouldn't. And I know my doctor's like, don't worry, the chance of malignancy is tiny and everything, don't worry about it. But at the same time, it's like, how do you not worry? Because all of a sudden you've got this weird growth in your throat, and it's like, yeah. So yeah, so that's a thing. So I'll deal with that, and I'll give you guys an update when I get the results back with the next video in 2 weeks from now. So anyhow, that's basically where I'm at with everything in terms of my health and stuff. Still working on my novels. Coffee to Go is with a beta reader right now, who was supposed to start reading 10 days ago, but she forgot. Oops. So I'm waiting for that result to come back, and I'm still doing a lot of edits with the sci-fi novel. I'm almost done with the first round of edits of the sequel that I merged with the novel and trying to make it longer. I need to send that off to beta readers as well. And then I have an idea for another novel, so I might, depending on when I get the novels back from my beta readers, I might just go off and start writing the next novel. So we'll see, but I'm keeping busy when it comes to all that stuff. So anyhow, that's everything I have this time around, and I hope you are still enjoying my ramblings as well as my updates and things on my transition. So until 2 weeks from now, I guess, take care. Bye-bye.